Hello, friends. It's me again, your guide Andre, and my channel Walks with Andrew. Today, I invite you to go on a fascinating journey through the Turkish Bodrum, a city that combines ancient history, luxury holidays, and vibrant nightlife. On my YouTube channel, this is a new 25-minute video where we will show you Bodrum from different sides. From ancient stone buildings to modern resorts, yachts, and the life of locals. In this video, we take a stroll through the streets of Bodrum to show you its unique character. The city, once known as Halicarnassus, breathes history. You will see the Fortress of Peter, a magnificent 15th century structure built by the Knights Hospitaller from stones from the destroyed Mausoleum of Halicarnassus, one of the 7 wonders of the world. Today, the fortress houses the Museum of Underwater Archaeology, which houses treasures raised from sunken ancient ships. We will look inside the ancient amphitheater from the 4th century BC, which is still used for concerts and festivals, and show you the Mindos Gate, through which, according to legend, Alexander the Great entered. And if you go there yourself, you will see the picturesque 18th century windmills on the hills, which have become a real calling card of the city. But Bodrum is not only history. We show how the cultural shifts of the times have shaped modern Turkey. Whitewashed Greek-style houses, narrow streets with blue shutters, and orange groves create an atmosphere that is more reminiscent of the Mediterranean than a typical Turkish resort. The Greek influence is felt here. It is not for nothing that Bodrum is called the most un-Turkish city in Turkey. This European atmosphere attracts creative people. Artists, writers, and filmmakers who seek inspiration on the waterfront dotted with yachts. Bodrum resort life is a separate story. We will look at the blue flag beaches, such as Gumbet and Baites, where both families and partying youth relax. We will walk along the embankment, where luxury yachts are parked in 3 international marinas. This is a real paradise for yachting enthusiasts. Bodrum has long been chosen by VIP tourists and celebrities who sail here on private vessels. They say that you can meet Turkish bohemia and even Hollywood stars here. And how do you like the Halicarnassus Disco, where up to 5,000 people hang out in an ancient open-air amphitheater? This place is in the top 5 clubs in Europe. But don't think that Bodrum is only about luxury. We will show you how ordinary Turks relax here. In cozy cafes on the waterfront, they tell fortunes with Turkish coffee, enjoy local cuisine, and admire the sunsets. You will learn why Bodrum is called the nightlife capital of Turkey and how locals maintain a balance between tradition and modernity. Some facts about Bodrum. Bodrum is the yachting center of Turkey, second only to Marmaris. Sailing regattas are held here annually. The climate here is milder than in Antalya. The Aegean Sea provides a cool breeze even in the hot months. The city attracts not only tourists, but also surfers, divers, and kitesurfing enthusiasts thanks to the winds and rich underwater world. Local souvenirs include sea sponges and silk carpets from the village of Çakmakdak. Our goal is to make a quality introductory walk so that you feel the atmosphere of Bodrum and want to see it with your own eyes. We will show how ancient stones coexist with modern 5-star hotels, where you can relax in the style of ultra all-inclusive, and how cultural heritage continues to influence the life of the city. Bodrum is a place where everyone will find something for themselves. History, nature, parties, or solitude. Bodrum's promenade is the soul of the Aegean coast. Walking along the Bodrum waterfront is like stepping into a painting of azure seas and whitewashed buildings, with the ancient castle of Peter looming above. Officially known as Tefik Kalesi, it runs along the harbor, dividing the bay into 2 parts: the western part, where luxury yachts are moored, and the eastern part, which leads to the bustling bar street. The air here is filled with the scent of fresh seafood, blooming bougainvillea, and a salty breeze. Every step reveals a new view. The reflection of the setting sun in the water, the silhouettes of traditional Giulit's wooden sailing ships that have plied the Aegean Sea for centuries. The waterfront comes alive with the first rays of the sun, when fishermen return with their catch, and does not fall silent until late at night, when lanterns cast a soft light on the cobbled road and live music comes from cafes. This is not just a promenade, but the heart of Bodrum, where history, culture, and modern luxury meet. The origins of Halicarnassus. From an ancient port to a resort. The Bodrum waterfront stands on the foundations of ancient Halicarnassus, founded by the Dorians in the 12th century BC. It was then a bustling port, through which trade routes passed between Greece, Egypt, and Persia. The harbor, around which the waterfront later formed, was the center of life in the city. Olive oil, wine, and fabrics were brought here, and local craftsmen were famous for their bronze products. In the 4th century BC, Halicarnassus became famous for the Mausoleum, the grandiose tomb of King Mausolus, one of the 7 wonders of the world. The remains of this structure can still be found in the center of Bodrum, just a few streets from the waterfront. The ancient harbor set the rhythm of the city, and even today, looking at the yachts in the marina, you can imagine how triremes and merchant ships moored here thousands of years ago. Gradually, Halicarnassus lost its former grandeur, turning into a quiet village, but the sea remained its soul, and the embankment its reflection. Modern Bodrum. The promenade as a mirror of change. Today, Bodrum's waterfront is not only a tourist magnet, but also a place where wealthy Turks and foreigners alike relax. The Yalıkavak Marina, a 20-minute drive away, is considered one of the best in Europe, and its influence is felt in the city center, where yachts are becoming increasingly luxurious. The waterfront remains democratic. Expensive restaurants sit side by side with simple ice cream stalls, and backpackers stroll alongside villa owners. In recent years, Bodrum has become a trendy destination for those looking for an alternative to Antalya or Marmaris. Less bustle, but more style. The waterfront reflects this evolution, from an ancient port through a fishing harbor to an elite promenade that retains its historical soul. Ottoman silence in the awakening of the 20th century. During the Ottoman era, Bodrum became a quiet fishing village, and the waterfront became a simple pier where boats were moored and the catch was unloaded. The harbor was still the center of life, but now it was calm and measured. In the 19th century, during the Greek War of Independence, naval battles took place near Bodrum, and in 1919 to 1921 the city was briefly under Italian occupation. After Mustafa Kemal Ataturk liberated it, a gradual revival began. In the 1940s, Bodrum, thanks to its climate and beauty, began to attract the first tourists, artists, writers, and adventurers. The waterfront began to transform. The first cafes appeared instead of fishermen's huts, and a paved road was laid along the harbor. It was then that Bodrum began to turn into a resort, while retaining its authentic charm. Tourism boom. From fishing village to luxury resort. The real turning point came in the second half of the 20th century, when the Turkish government saw Bodrum's potential as an international resort. In the 1970s, the promenade began to take on its modern appearance. A marina capable of accommodating hundreds of yachts was built, and restaurants and shops opened along the promenade. The opening of Milas Bodrum Airport in 1997 made the city accessible to tourists from Europe and the Middle East, which accelerated the development of infrastructure. The promenade became Bodrum's showcase. The white houses with blue shutters, inherited from Greek influence, were restored, and the harbor turned into one of Turkey's largest yacht marinas. Today, you can meet locals enjoying coffee in the shade of palm trees, as well as yacht owners who have arrived from Monaco or Dubai. The promenade has retained its historical soul, but has acquired a gloss that makes it look like the Riviera. Beauty in the details. What makes the embankment unforgettable? It's impossible not to notice the charm of the promenade as you stroll along it. The water in the harbor shimmers in shades of turquoise and sapphire, reflecting the sails of the gulets and the silhouettes of the hills on the horizon. Rows of palm trees and flowering bushes line the promenade, and the air is filled with the aroma of fried fish and freshly brewed Turkish coffee. Each restaurant here is a small story. One serves mussels stuffed with rice, another freshly caught sea bass cooked on the grill. At sunset, the promenade turns into a stage. The sky is painted in crimson and gold tones, and the castle of Peter is illuminated, creating an almost theatrical effect. In the evening, the promenade comes alive. Street musicians play melodies, and young people head towards Bar Street, where music thunders until the morning. Even in the little things in the old lanterns, in the patterns on the wooden boats, in the smiles of the merchants, the soul of Bodrum is felt. Medieval imprint. Castle of Peter. In the 15th century, the Castle of Peter rose above the harbor, and it still dominates the landscape of the waterfront. Built by the Knights Hospitaller, it became not only a fortress, but also a symbol of a new stage in the history of Bodrum. The Knights used the stones of the destroyed Mausoleum to build powerful walls that withstood sieges by Ottoman troops. The castle turned the harbor into a strategic point, and the area around it began to grow with warehouses, taverns, and houses. The embankment at that time was more modest. A narrow strip along the water, where fishermen repaired their nets and merchants traded spices. Today, the castle, converted into the Museum of Underwater Archaeology, holds treasures raised from sunken ships. Amphorae, glass vessels, and even a golden scarab with the name of Nefertiti. Its towers, illuminated by the setting sun, create a dramatic backdrop to walks along the waterfront, a reminder of the centuries that have passed over this land. Bodrum cuisine is a sophisticated blend of Aegean and Mediterranean culinary traditions. The dishes are based on fresh vegetables, herbs, seafood, and extra virgin olive oil. The region values seasonal and local produce, which gives the food a rich yet light flavor. One of Bodrum's culinary icons is the mise, a selection of cold and warm appetizers served before the main course. Local restaurants boast homemade variations of hummus, eggplant spreads, yogurt sauces with mint and garlic, and dishes made from wild herbs picked in the surrounding mountains. Aegean herbs such as sevdek, shefkada Boston, and turp otu are sautéed with garlic and lemon or stewed with egg, creating a rich yet mellow flavor. Fresh fish is another important part of the cuisine. In Bodrum, the most popular are sea bream, cupra, and sea bass, levrek, which are usually grilled with olive oil and lemon juice. Restaurants often offer visitors the opportunity to choose their own fish on ice, after which it is cooked right before their eyes. In addition to fish, squid, octopus, and mussels are always on the menu. Octopus is often boiled until soft, then lightly fried in olive oil, and mussels are served stuffed with rice and spices midi dolma. They are eaten cold with lemon. For gourmets, try dishes like keskek, a slow-cooked wheat porridge with meat that originates from Ottoman cuisine and is sometimes found in local village taverns. Also popular are homemade dough dishes. Goslim, thin flatbreads filled with cheese, spinach, or potatoes, which are fried in a large metal pan. Among the desserts, Bodrum's most popular are lakma, small fried dough balls drenched in syrup and served hot, as well as light desserts made from figs, quince, or pumpkin and sweet syrup. Many Bodrum restaurants complement their meals with local wine or raki, a traditional aniseed-flavored drink that is traditionally sipped slowly over a long meal and pleasant conversation. Bodrum, as I have already said, has an ancient and eventful history. Its ancient Greek name is Halicarnassus. According to historical data, already in the 7th century BC there was a Greek settlement here, founded by the Dorians. Later, the city became part of Curia, a region inhabited by the people of the same name, who were under the influence of the Greeks, but retained their own culture. In the 6th century BC, Curia, including Halicarnassus, fell under the rule of the Persian Empire. Despite this, the city continued to develop and later became the residence of the Carian satraps, Persian governors. Halicarnassus especially flourished in the 4th century BC under the ruler Mausoleum. He moved the capital of Curia here and began a large-scale reconstruction of the city. After the death of Mausolus, his wife and sister Artemisia too completed the construction of the Mausoleum, a monumental tomb, which was later recognized as one of the seven wonders of the ancient world. In 334 BC, Halicarnassus was captured by Alexander the Great. After the collapse of Alexander's empire, the city came under the control of various Hellenistic dynasties, and then became part of the Roman Republic and later the Byzantine Empire. During this period, the city gradually lost its former importance, and by the beginning of the Middle Ages it was in a state of decline. In the 15th century, around 1402, the Order of the Hospitallers arrived on the peninsula. Knights Crusaders expelled from the Middle Ages. It built a powerful fortress on the coast, the Castle of Peter, which became the main fortification of their power on this stretch of sea. Interestingly, stone blocks from the destroyed mausoleum were partly used for the construction of the castle. In 1522, during the reign of Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, the Ottoman Empire finally drove the knights out of the Aegean coast, including Bodrum. The Castle of Peter was surrendered without serious resistance. From then on, Bodrum became part of the Ottoman Empire. Over the next centuries, it remained a small fishing and trading town, not nearly as important as it had been in ancient times. At the beginning of the 20th century, after the defeat of the Ottoman Empire in the First World War, the occupation of the western regions of Asia Minor by foreign armies, including Greek ones, began. However, Bodrum, unlike Izmir or Aden, was not occupied by troops and remained in the hands of the Turkish administration. During the Turkish War of Independence, which began in 1919 under the leadership of Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, the region was successfully held by Turkish nationalists. In 1923, with the signing of the Treaty of Lausanne, Bodrum officially became part of the Turkish Republic. At the same time, a massive population exchange took place between Turkey and Greece. Orthodox Greeks left the city and Muslims from the Balkans and other areas arrived to take their place. In the 20th century, Bodrum began to transform. At first, artists, poets, and writers began to come here. One of the key figures was the writer Halicarnassus Pfizer, pseudonym, who settled in the city and inspired many representatives of the Turkish intelligentsia to discover this region. Thanks to him and his followers, Bodrum gradually became a center of culture, tourism, and creativity. The white walls and architectural imitation of the Greek style in Bodrum are not a coincidence or just an aesthetic choice, but the result of historical, climatic, and cultural factors. Firstly, white walls are a practical solution for the hot Aegean climate. White reflects sunlight and helps keep the interior cool, especially in summer when temperatures can reach 40 degrees. This practice is common to all coastal settlements in the Aegean region and dates back to ancient times. Secondly, the architectural similarities with the Greek islands are understandable. Bodrum and the nearby islands, such as Kos, were part of the same cultural and economic zone for centuries. Until the early 20th century, there was a significant Greek population who built houses in the Aegean architectural tradition with flat roofs, white facades, narrow streets, and wooden windows with bright blue shutters. These architectural elements remained after the Greeks left the region during the population exchange that took place after the signing of the Treaty of Lausanne in 1923. The Turks who settled Bodrum after this exchange preserved and even emphasized these architectural features over time. This aesthetic began to develop especially actively in the second half of the 20th century, when Bodrum began to turn into a center of tourism and culture. White houses became a symbol of the city, its signature style. Local authorities adopted regulations obliging building owners to use a traditional palette. White or light beige walls, limited heights, natural materials. This allows preserving the architectural harmony and historical identity of the city. Thus, the white walls and the Greek style are simultaneously a trace of centuries-old coexistence of cultures, a rational response to climatic conditions, and a conscious policy of preserving identity. All this makes Bodrum a unique place on the map of Turkey, where East and West are intertwined not only in history, but also in every detail of the city. To enjoy this Bodrum vibe, you first need to get here. Now I will tell you how to do this from the key regions of Turkey: Istanbul, Antalya, Izmir, Ankara, and Marmaris. Plus, I will analyze which roads lead to Bodrum and what is with the airport there. Bodrum Airport. Bodrum has an international airport, Milas Bodrum, 36 kilometers from the city. It receives about 4 million passengers a year. From the airport to the center, you can get by bus for 120 lira, 45 minutes, by taxi for 45 euros, or take a transfer for $50. Car rental at the airport, from 110 lira per day, but book in advance. The easiest way to get from Istanbul to Bodrum is by plane. Flights from the new airport or Sabiha Gökçen take 1 hour 20 minutes. Tickets start at 30 euros. Buses take 10 to 12 hours. Tickets cost 25 to 40 euros. By car on the highway 700 kilometers, 8 to 10 hours. Petrol is about 50 euros, plus toll. There are few direct flights from Antalya, with a transfer in Istanbul, 3 to 5 hours, from 50 euros. Buses travel 6 to 8 hours, 420 kilometers. Ticket, 15 to 25 euros. By car, 6 hours. Petrol, 30 to 40 euros. Izmir is the closest, 240 kilometers. Buses take 3 to 4 hours. Ticket is 10 to 15 euros. Airplanes fly rarely, from 40 euros, often with a transfer. By car, 3 hours. Petrol, 15 to 20 euros. Direct flights from Ankara take 1 hour 15 minutes from 40 euros. Buses take 10 to 12 hours. Ticket costs 25 to 35 euros. By car 700 kilometers to 10 hours. Petrol 50 euros. Marmaris is 160 kilometers away. Buses take 2 to 3 hours. Ticket is 8 to 12 euros. By car 2 hours. Petrol 10 to 15 euros. In season there is a ferry 2 hours, from 30 euros, beautiful, but more expensive. Roads to Bodrum. There are highways to Bodrum from Istanbul, Izmir, Antalya, and Marmaris, and Ankara. The roads are good, but there are traffic jams in the summer. For toll roads, you need an HGS sticker. My advice: catch plane tickets in advance on Avia sales. Are you? Night buses save time. Rent a car for freedom, but book a month in advance. The best season is June-September, when the sea is warm. If you find yourself in Turkey and wondering whether it is worth visiting Bodrum for at least one day, do not hesitate. Even a short walk along its streets will give you aesthetic and cultural pleasure that will stay with you for a long time. Bodrum is not just a resort on the shores of the Aegean Sea. It is a city with character, with a soul, with its own pulse. Here, every corner reminds of centuries-old history, of Mediterranean culture, of the times when voices in Greek, Turkish, Italian, and even Latin languages were heard in narrow stone alleys. The streets of Bodrum are not wide and not ceremonial. They are not clean to the point of museum sterility, like in the old quarters of some European capitals. Real life lives in them. This is what makes them valuable. White walls, behind which cozy courtyards with blooming bougainvilleas are hidden, open cafes where old men play backgammon, girls sit over a cup of coffee, and cats freely roam between the tables. All this is not a stylized scene for tourists, but a continuation of everyday reality, which you become a part of. Here it is impossible not to notice how organically the architectural heritage of antiquity is combined with unhurried modernity. After walking just a few blocks, you can find yourself at the walls of the Castle of Peter, a real fortress of the Knights Hospitaller of the 15th century, built from the stones of one of the wonders of the ancient world, the Mausoleum of Mausolus. And then, turning the corner, you will find yourself in a small art gallery or a local craftsman's shop, where things with soul are created. Dozens of restaurants line the harbor, serving the freshest fish, olives, peppers stuffed with rice, homemade Turkish flatbreads, and cold appetizers with mint, yogurt, and eggplant. But the street food is also worth a try. Turkish gazlim flatbreads, simits, tea in faceted glasses, which is served in almost every shop. One of the charms of Bodrum is the opportunity to get lost and not regret it. Every street leads somewhere. To a viewing platform overlooking the bay, to an ancient mosque, to a quiet courtyard where you want to sit and just be silent. Of course, the ideal option is to stay here for at least 3 or 4 nights. This way you will have time not only to walk around the old town, but also to go on a boat ride along the coast, climb the hills overlooking the Aegean Sea, visit local museums, go shopping in antique shops, or just relax on one of the beaches. A night in Bodrum is a separate story. With the lights of yachts, with the aromas of cuisine, with music coming from bars and open terraces. The city seems to come alive in a different guise, lighter, more relaxed, but still cultured and stylish. Bodrum is Turkey beyond the norm. Here, people are not in a hurry, they enjoy the moment, they walk around just like that, without a goal, just because it is nice to walk, breathe, and look. If you are looking for something special on the map of Turkey, make time for Bodrum. It is a city that brings back the feeling of real, unhurried life, where even one day matters. And if you can, stay longer. In 3 or 4 days, you will not just see Bodrum, you will feel it. Thank you for being with me on this short journey. Be sure to watch other episodes on my channel about Turkey, its hidden corners, interesting cities, as well as about amazing regions around the world. Subscribe, leave comments, share your impressions. Until new discoveries.